The Content tab is used to tell the LMS how content will be treated inside the LMS. The first option is automatically archive completed content and unarchive incomplete content at the end of each night. By clicking this section on, any content that has been completed by the student will automatically place in their Archive tab. If the student accidentally places an incomplete piece of content in their Archive tab, then this setting will take that piece of content and place it back on the active screen for them to complete. Randomly show hidden content is a special feature. The LMS has the ability to show content that is marked as random. When content is marked as random, you can set the percentage of how often that content comes up to your learner base. If randomly show hidden content is checked on and 10% is entered, then the content that is random inside the LMS will show up 10% of the time to the learners inside the LMS. This is typically used for surveys that are marked random, so that 10% of the learners in the LMS will receive the surveys and 90% will not. The next option is to log all AICC and SCORM tracking data. So the LMS already logs completions, date, time, and score. If you want to show other AICC and SCORM tracking data, you can have the LMS score that as well. The next option is, if user is added to a classroom session, assign the session like regular content is assigned. The option underneath that is the same, but for webinar sessions. It is recommended that you turn these on in your LMS. Let's look at Content Rating System. The LMS has a full content rating system. That content rating system is from 1 to 5 stars, and it allows students to rate courses either after they've completed or prompt after completed. Next, we have Maximum Allowed Score. Maximum allowed score is typically set to 100, but if you want to have a maximum allowed score that is less than or more than 100, you can enter it here. The next option says, if content does not have an owner, UG admins with content assigned can edit. When entering content into the LMS, you can assign content to an owner. If that owner leaves, by clicking this checkbox on, it will allow anyone else who is inside the same user group to take over the ownership responsibilities. Below this is the option Use Content Review / Expiration System. If this is turned on, a number of content options are going to be given. You can determine what types of content will be periodically reviewed inside the LMS. In this case, online training needs to be reviewed, online tests and questionnaires need to be reviewed, classroom training and other online resources also need to be reviewed. Next, we have Require a Content Author. If this is checked on, then every single piece of content that is entered into the LMS will require the administrator to enter who the author of the content is. The content expiration time is set to 365 days. In this case, all the content selected above will have to be reviewed every 365 days in the LMS. This prevents older content that is no longer applicable being used inside the LMS by forcing administrators to review the content. Next, we have the list of days before expiration to notify owner and author. The list of days before expiration to notify owner and author is set at comma-separated values. In this case, 90 days before the 365 days are up, the reviewer will receive a message from the LMS telling them to review the content. If they don't review it, they will see another message in 30 days, then at 15 days, then at 10, then at 5, then at 3, then at 2. And by that time, they will receive a message every day until they have reviewed the content. The next option down is Hide Exemption checkbox from UG Admin. If checked on, this prevents user group admins from turning off the content review system. The next two buttons below are used for disabling the content review system and then re-abling the content review system across all content. The Language tab allows you to change any of the wording inside the LMS. You can also add an unlimited number of languages to the LMS. The way to change wording inside the LMS is to select any language that's inside the LMS. In this case, the default is English language. Export that language into an Excel spreadsheet. The LMS will export all of the phrases and wording inside the LMS to an Excel spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that we're looking at now shows all of the wording used inside the LMS. In this case, there are two columns. One is the default language, which is supplied to the LMS, and the second column is the actual language that is being used inside the LMS. So in this case, if you wanted to change the account menu on the left to read Students menu inside the LMS, we would make the change. Save the Excel spreadsheet, and then re-import it to the LMS. Below, we have the options of showing or hiding languages. So in this case, the French and Japanese languages are hidden. If we want to show those languages, we will double-click on it, and the language will now show. The next tab is Search Options. Generally, all search options should be on, unless your LMS doesn't offer all forms of training. If your LMS doesn't offer classroom training or webinars, then you would want to turn the classroom training and webinar sessions search off, so students don't search for classes that are not available to them. We can also set the scope of the search. In this case, the scope of the search is set to only assigned user content. You can also set it to search the entire catalog if you'd like. Down below, there are options for dedicated classroom buttons. In this case, let's say if you offer classes all around the country and you want people to search for a certain state, turn on the state button and they can only search classes just in Arizona if you want. If you want classes to be searchable for every possible option, we will select every option and the classrooms will be searchable by all of these fields. Remember, you can also create your own option by going into the language library, and you can change state to postal code if you wanted to. The next tab is Email. The very first option is Make all users' email addresses optional. If you click that on, then users won't be required to have an email. It is recommended that you leave this off so that learners in this system have an email, because emails are used for notifications, and they are also used for classroom and webinar waiting lists. The third option, Allow users to have same email address, is used often, and it's recommended. By allowing users with the same email address, you can have an email address used by both an admin and student. If this option is off, your admin account will have to have a different email address than your student's account. The next option is Use Outlook formatting for session emails. When this is checked on, then the LMS will work with Outlook to schedule training sessions. Blockout confirmations is actually a recommended setting to keep instructors from being flooded with confirmation emails. The Send Instructor Daily Roster Updates will send the instructor an update if new students have registered for their class. The next three email options give the administrators the ability to use pre-built templates in the Sent email area to send messages to students and instructors about class registration. The first option sends the welcome class email when students register. The next one down is the message that is going to be sent to instructors when a student registers for the class. And the third one down is email admin, so admins will get an email every time a student registers for a class. Remember, these are all just options and they don't have to be enabled. The next option is Restrict User Registrations to Approved Email Domains. If we click this option on, we will see a drop-down menu appear where we will select the approved email domains, and everyone will be required to come from this domain to be able to take training on the LMS. The last section on emails allows you to set the from address and all emails that come from the LMS. The last section on emails allows you to set the from address and all emails that come from the LMS. We highly recommend that you use an actual real email address to prevent the LMS emails from being identified as spam. At any time, we can turn off the email system by checking the Disable All Email Sending. It is recommended that instead of sending multiple emails to a student, that all emails are collected as one. However, if an LMS wants individual emails to go out, we can check on the box for Don't Group Session Reminder emails.